All right, we're staying related to that. Taking it closer home now, the big GDP, we see the number 3.8. But what does this mean to businesses, to small businesses? We have right here in the studio to tell us the Chief Operating Officer of Streetcert Integrated Limited, Mr. Patrick Kawoju. Mr. Kawoju, good morning.
Good morning.
So yesterday we saw the GDP numbers from the NBS.
Yeah.
That would mean that the economy has grown when we compare the third quarter of 2024 to the fourth quarter by 3.84%.
Yes.
What does it mean to businesses? Is this just a number? Does it mean anything?
Unfortunately, most times it's just a number. And it's a number because we haven't started to feel it. It's not being felt on the streets yet, right? Too much of it, after it's been rebased, yes, we've seen that the economy has grown, but real inflation at the market.
What does economy has grown? What does it mean to a business? Does it mean more demand, more revenue?
Great question, right? What does it really mean? It ought to mean things you just mentioned. Increased demand, right? Increased disposable income for the populace, which translates to increased demand, which translates to increased revenue, which translates to increased profits, right? So it's supposed to trickle down such that eventually the small business owners, the staff, employees, everybody begins to have more money in their pocket. But in actual fact, this is not happening yet. Now, eventually, we expect to see it. These headline growths that are appearing in, that are being given to us, we expect to see.
They are being given to you.
Being given to us, right? We expect to see it trickle down.
Yeah, but the number is for the third quarter of 2024.
Yes.
That means this is supposed to have happened.
And so why I say
we are waiting for it to trickle down.
Yes,
Yeah.
So but think about it, right? And probably I should also ask, have you actually felt the impact of that growth, right? To you, as an individual, okay? A lot of, there's this thing that they say now that people's take home are not taking them home, right? And now, if in third quarter, it wasn't taking them home, and the fourth quarter, yes, there was some increase, especially driven by diaspora remittances. A lot of Nigerians from the diaspora came into the market, came back into the country to spend the Yuletide. So yes, all that happened, right? But apart from that, if you want to look at the real sector, okay, there was minimal impact from that growth. And so that's why I keep on speaking towards waiting for it to trickle down, okay? So it is going to, so I'm quite optimistic. I do believe that eventually we are going to begin to see...
what are the signs that make you optimistic?
So one, the dollar rate is going down, all right? Two, we are seeing less of a volatility. So it's not just the fact that it's going down, it's that it's not, you don't see too much volatility with that.
There's a bit of stability.
Yes, there's a bit of stability. And so that's a good pointer, right? We are also seeing some moves by the government. They're pulling some levers that, especially around the tax reform, that we expect that when it does come on board, right, we're going to have lots of impacts, especially to the SME sectors. Okay, so those are some of the things you see and you're like, okay, there's hope.
We can be hopeful.
We can be hopeful.
Okay,
yeah.
but as we wait for that to materialize,
yes,
what should businesses be doing at this time to deal with, the disruptions or to hedge against it?
So I'm going to give a left field suggestion right now. Right? I'm going to go away from what most people would say to speak about the fact that you just mentioned lots of things are happening, right? For us in Nigeria, we have seen within the last, 24 months, we've seen subsidy removal, fuel subsidy removal. We've seen subsidy removal from the power sector to electricity. We've seen FX, right? No more FX controls like we used to have. Those are just some small subsets. And we expect to see more. There's talk about still removing the remaining subsidy on electricity, right? The tax reform is going to come in very soon. So there are lots of changes happening. And we are not even speaking as to the external changes in the, outside our immediate environment. I mean, think of what's happening in Europe and in America.
Russia.
Yes, all impacting business. So there is change happening. Now, most times businesses respond to this external change by implementing internal changes too. So you could come here and say you need a new strategy, you need to be agile, become more adaptable, do a merger and acquisition, digital transformation, especially with the new technologies that are coming on board. Yeah, so all those things are approaches we could use. But the problem is, most of these change efforts are not yielding fruits. So there's the gap between the external change and the internal change, and this gap is widening. What organizations need to do is improve their capability to change. If you improve your capability to change, it means that whatever comes at you, you're more than likely to survive.
What does it mean to improve your capability? Because it can be theory. Is it orientation? Is it practical?
It is. It is practical. So there's this emerging science of change, right, that suggests that, okay, so let me start with this fact. 70% of all change efforts fail. And this is not peculiar to Nigeria. Cuts across geographies, across sectors, across all maturity levels, 70%. It's a fact. And they fail not because of the proficiency of the idea is lacking. It's not because the leaders are incompetent. It's also not because resources are unavailable. It's because they don't know how to midwife the people side of change. And we all forget when we speak to strategy, restructuring, or whatever it is, policy implementation. We forget that this thing that we call organizations, society, countries, it's made up of people. If you want to ensure that your implementations succeed, then what you're going to have to do is manage the people side of change. Right now, we are managing the technical side of change. We need to improve how we manage the people side of change. And this emerging science I speak to has provided playbooks, actual playbooks, tactics, strategies that help organizations and individuals, because it's also useful to us as individuals, to manage the changes we implement internally to ensure that they are swiftly and smartly executed.
Would this be an HR job?
No.
Sounds like a national orientation on a national scale, but when it comes to organizations, it sounds like an HR thing?
It's everybody. Because one other insight that's come up from this science is that you need a critical mass of change leaders across the organizations. It can't be a select few. So right now, when we approach change, we generally pick a select few, give it to them, give them the role to go.
They're supposed to be the change sellers.
Exactly.
Like
they're supposed
the
to be.
and all that.
Yes,
yeah?
they're supposed to. But you see, experience has taught us that it doesn't really work. That's one of the reasons why the rate of failure of change efforts is so appalling. So you need a critical mass. You need more than those select few, right? So it's not a HR thing. It's not
a national orientation thing. Is that what I hear you say?
It is but it's not HR, but it's a national orientation thing. Yeah?
No, national orientation, I mean, you can see them as the HR of the country, and they're supposed to be driving preparing the people, but we seem, feeling their impact in Nigeria seems like a drop in the ocean.
Yes, again, because we are leaving it to the National Orientation Agency. National orientation shouldn't be the job of only the National Orientation Agency, right? It's everybody's job. It's you and I. And if we don't participate in it, if we don't take active participation in changing that orientation, it's not going to work.
Okay, I hear you, Mr. Odu. So while we wait for the change or the growth to trickle down, yes, we will try to work on our orientation to adapt to the change that we expect.
Increase our adaptability, yes.
That we expect to see. Thank you, Chief Operating Officer of Strasert Integrated Limited, for your time.
Thank you very much.
Let's take a break. When we come back, energy transition. We're talking of energy, and Mr. Shoaib did talk about those queues that we saw in parts of Lagos. Hopefully, we will not see them today, seeing that there's been dialogue going on about that wage bill, So hopefully, we will not see that. But we are talking energy after the break. Just stay with us.